What is going on YouTube? Welcome back to another video. In today's Fallout 76 video, I want to talk about how patch 7 is just completely mind-blowing and insane. So patch 7 was released the other day for Fallout 76 on March 13th, 2019. It was all covered in a Inside the Vault style letter that was posted on the news for Fallout 76 on Bethesda.net, and it is titled Fallout 76 Wild Appalachia Patch Notes, March 13, 2019. Now, this is patch 7, and it essentially is everything. I kind of want to read everything, but I might skip a few things. We're going to be talking about the stuff I find interesting. I'm going to be giving you guys my opinion as we go along. So we might not be reading each and every single thing because patch 7 is completely insane. There are hundreds of different things that were fixed, and I don't think I'll be able to get through them all in this video because many of you know every time I talk about one thing, I talk about it for a minute. If there's hundreds of things I need to talk about, 1 minute per thing, that's like 3-hour video right there already. We're not going to be reading each and every single one. We're just going to kind of go through it. I'm going to show you guys the stuff that I really like, the stuff that I was really interested by. So let's go ahead and do this. So it says, this Inside the Vault letter or news thing posted on Bethesda.net says, Fallout 76 Wild Appalachia Patch Notes, March 13, 2019. Welcome to Wild Appalachia. Patch 7 introduces the first of many new content updates to come, including a quest line, a pair of daily quests, and a crafting system. Additionally, this patch contains a variety of balance and gameplay adjustments, new features, along another large wave of bug fixes, and much more. Check out a few patch highlights below and then read on to catch the full patch notes. So it goes on to say patch highlights, new quest line, wasted on Nuka Shine. Complete this quest line to uncover the secrets of the notorious and illicit Nuka Shine and unlock the new brewing and distilling crafting system. Nuka Shine crafting system, brewing and distilling. Become the Wasteland's premier bartender by learning to craft a wide variety of new drinks using the new brewing workbench and the fermenter. New seasonal event quest, Fashnat Parade. Aid the dutiful bots of Helvita with their Fashnat preparations and parade to banish Old Man Winter, claim some sweet loot, and have a chance to claim fantastic Fashnat mask. And if you guys remember those masks from the other day, they're really cool and neat looking. I personally want the one that makes the sun look like it smoked a bunch of crack and then went on a bender for a weekend. Going on into energy and heavy weapon balance, it says we've implemented a number of balance changes for energy and heavy weapons to help them last longer before needing repairs and increase their damage output. So for you energy and heavy weapon players, you're going to be very excited about that. You know, the weapons are going to last longer and their damage output is going to be higher, meaning they'll finally be usable. Going into challenge and tracking, it says a challenge tracker has been added to the map to give you better visibility into your most current active challenges. You can also use it to keep an eye on progress towards the challenges that are most important to you. So long story short, you no longer have to pull up that challenge menu that we all, kind of had to do. You kind of just have a challenge tracker there ready for you and tracking your most important challenges. So you could pull it up real quick instead of actually having to go through the challenges like last time or before, which is really nice. Player reporting, which is probably one of my favorite. We've added a player reporting system to the social menu that you can use to report other players for a variety of inappropriate or negative behaviors. This is really good. We didn't have a reporting system before, probably because people would have abused it, but now that the community is in a better place, now that we have a lot of those toxic players out of the communities, those duplicators, and just the nasty people have kind of moved on to the next thing. I think this is really nice time to be adding this reporting system. That way we could report players who, are being mean. And when I say mean, keep in mind, I mean things like racism and, like really, really bad stuff, right? And when I say negative behaviors, I mean exploiting and glitching and stuff like that. So going into patch version, it talks about download sizes for today's patch will be approximately 20 gigabyte for console and around 13.7 gigabytes for PC. God damn, that is a lot of space. In fact, Fallout 76 is, I think, the largest game that I have on my PC, and I think it's larger than Grand Theft Auto 5 at this point, which is just completely insane. But The size of Fallout 76 is far bigger than anything else I've played, so I don't mind sacrificing my hard drive space for it. Yeah. So, some spoiler alert before we go any further. I'm about to read the Wild Appalachia portion of this letter. I'm not going to read each and every single thing just because it does contain some spoilers. I'm going to try to speed past them as best as I can. So if you guys want to close your eyes for a little bit or something like that, go ahead and do that now. But here we go. Wild Appalachia, new quest line wasted on Nuka Shine. I'm not going to read how you activate it just because I don't want to spoil anything. New crafting system, brewing and distilling. New camp object, fermenter. New daily quest, brewing and distilling. New seasonal event quest, Fashnat Parade. And we kind of already know how that works. We talked about it earlier. And it talks about how it's going to be available, how that's going to be a limited time event available for 1 week from March 19th to the 26th. And it talks about how you could get some really cool gear and trade that gear between players if you do so wish to. So yeah, I don't really want to stick to that too much just because it does contain some spoilers, and I would hate to spoil it for anybody. If you guys want to read it for yourself, link is down in the description below to this, but I'm pretty sure those of you looking at the screen now are kind of reading it for yourself. If you want to pause it here and read it, that's absolutely fine, and just continue with the video. Now, for those of you who closed your eyes, go ahead and open them now. We're moving on to General and Atomic Shop. So some general stuff was server maintenance. The message displayed when the servers are taken offline for maintenance have been updated. The message displayed when the individual server is shut down for maintenance is now, please join another world. This world will be undergoing maintenance soon. The message displayed when Fallout 76 is bought offline for maintenance is now, game services are shutting down for maintenance soon, which is really good. There was some kind of confusion when it would, display a certain message last time. Going into Atomic Shop, change appearance. Players can now preview Atomic Shop items while navigating the in-game change appearance menu. And from what I know, and to my knowledge, just reading this, what that means is, let's say you see a hairstyle let's say you're customizing the appearance of your character. The Atomic Shop items will now appear in there, but you won't own them, but you'll be able to see what they look like on your character, so you can decide if you want to buy them or not. And it's the same thing with the workbenches, where it says players can now also preview atomic items such as paints, headwears, and outfits from the list of craftable items that appear after entering a workbench. This function, much like previewing Atomic Shop items in a workbench or in the change appearance menu as mentioned above. Additionally, a toggle has been added that players can use to show or hide unowned Atomic Shop items in a workbench craftable items list. So when you go into a workbench, you can now see paints, headwears, and outfits that you don't own that you can purchase from the Atomic Shop. So you could kind of preview what they look like rather than, not seeing what they look like before you actually purchase it. This is a huge improvement to Atomic Shop because usually you'd have to purchase something, and then when you purchase it, you'd be like, wait, this isn't kind of what I wanted, and then there's no way to refund the in-game items, which really sucks. Yeah, nonetheless, I think it's really cool that we can now preview it before we purchase it. So moving on to balance changes, it talks about energy weapon changes and heavy weapon changes. We talked about that in a previous video. Long story short, they're just reducing how fast the energy and heavy weapons break, and they're giving them a little bit more damage. Yeah, they just want to make, the dev note here says, or at least the last one says, we hope that some of these adjustments for energy and heavy weapons will help your guns feel more useful, from their durability to their ammo consumption rate. We know that some in the community have been asking for weight changes for heavy weapons. While we haven't addressed that in today's patch, we do plan on making improvements with a future update, and we will let you know as soon as we're ready to share more details. And it talks about flux here as well. It talks about how different types of flux have had their weights and sell values adjusted. It talks about stable flux, how the base value has been increased to 100 caps. It talks about raw flux and how that base value has been reduced to 10 caps. And inert flux, which weight reduced to 0.2 pounds. Base value reduced to 0 caps and can no longer be sold to vendors. Going into camp crafting and workshops, I'm not going to read each and every single one. I'm just going to kind of read the dev notes when there are some, if they are interesting, and I'm going to point out interesting little things that I like. So going into camp crafting and workshops, it talks about budget adjustments, which are well needed. It talks about how some camp objects, such as in turrets and lights, now consume far less budget, but also have a maximum amount that can be placed in a camp or workshop. It says these objects recipes in the crafting menu now display how many of the item have already been built by the player in the camp or workshop, including how many they have stored, as well as the maximum amount that can be placed. Dev note: adding a max count to certain objects allows us to reduce those objects' budget cost while allowing us to keep an eye on their specific usage as well as balance and performance. As a result, you'll be able to build more stuff and will have more flexibility to refine and adjust camp and workshop structure, balance, and performance. It talks about camp placement and adjustments. Occasionally, new game content may need to occupy space in the world that was previously usable as a camp location. When this occurs, a new no-build zone will be placed in that spot, preventing players from building there in the future. If a player's pre-existing camp location would overlap a new no-build zone on joining a world, a notification will now inform them that their camp cannot be placed, and they will be given one free camp placement. Camp. Several additional environment objects such as grasses, ferns, swamp fungus will now disappear when the player builds camp objects on top of them, which I think we could all clap about. When you would place your house and there would be that piece of grass in the corner sticking out and it would just drive you insane. That's not going to happen anymore, so I'm really excited for that. Radios, classic and Appalachia radios, can now be crafted and placed in camp and workshops, which are really freaking sweet. Going into design and gameplay, it talks about an AFK timer and how the timer that disconnects players after a period of inactivity is now 25% longer when sitting or sleeping, which just adds a kind of an element of role play, if you will. Carry weight limit: a new destroy option will now appear in place of drop option when a player has exceeded the absolute maximum weight limit of 1,500 pounds, plus the character's current carry weight. Views items in their inventory. Selecting the option will destroy the selected item. This can be repeated with additional items until the total's player weight meets or falls below the absolute limit. When the above absolute weight limit is can no longer be dropped, traded, or consumed, they can only be kept or destroyed. So for all those people duping who have, hundreds of thousands of items, it's going to be a pain in the ass for them. And if you read that dev note, it says, as part of our ongoing quest to improve game's overall economy, performance, address items created as a result of exploit abuse, we've decided to implement a destroy option for players who have surpassed the absolute weight limit. This should also help reduce cases of excessive item hoarding, as well as prevent duped items from being dropped and making their way into unsuspecting players' hands. Hats off to you, Bethesda, you sick sons of guns. Taking away someone's duped items is one thing, but making them destroy their own duped items is a total another thing. And I think that's just absolutely hilarious. That's just so amazing. Going on to user interface, some things with the user interface were changed. If you guys want to read that, go ahead and pause the video now. But we're going to move on to bug fixes, which include performance and stability, art and graphic fixes, which are really good. I don't really want to talk about anything here. It just talks about a few small fixes that were made here and there to the world, certain visual effects, certain graphic effects, environment and animation. Talks about some performance and stability as well. Nothing too much to talk here, which is really good, except for the stability one where it says address the crash that could occur when attempting to trade with another player, which is really good. I think I ran into that one time trying to trade with somebody, yeah, that's still, but I'm glad to see that they fixed it. Yeah. Oh, also stability: address the crash that could occur during the Scorched Earth event. If you've ever been playing the Scorched Earth event where you gotta, do your thing with the Scorched Beast Queen and it crashes, it sucks. I'm glad to see that they addressed that as well. Other than that, really, if you guys want to read this for yourself, you can go ahead and do that. Moving on to camp, crafting, and workshop fixes. I got to break this up into two screenshots because it's so much. Ones to focus on are obviously the exploits, where it talks about address an exploit that could allow stored camp objects to become duplicated, address an exploit that could allow blueprints to be duplicated when moving camp locations, exploit fix multiple issues that could allow players to access unintended areas using certain camp objects, which are all really, really, really good. It also has a bunch of other ones there. If you guys want to read that, you can go ahead and read that for yourself. Many of you know if I start reading each and every single one of these, I'm going to elaborate on them. And if I elaborate on them, we're going to be here for pretty much ever. And I probably won't finish this video for a few hours. Moving on from the exploits there, you guys see some more camp crafting and workshop fixes, which is really cool. Moving into challenges, we see some challenges that were fixed. Just reading off the general ones, it talks about address an issue in which partial progress toward repeatable lifetime challenges could cause them to incorrectly appear complete in the challenge menu. General corrected a variety of typos across several challenge descriptions. General, the Halloween costume skull now correctly counts towards challenges that require the player to wear a mask. And then there are also some character, combat, and daily, weekly fixes as well, and some world fixes. So if you guys want to go ahead and read those, you can go ahead and read those for yourself. Going into combat, some things I want to point out were the exploit. Address an exploit that could allow players to repeatedly fire critical attacks without consuming critical charge, which is really good. And one that I really liked was stealth. Players will no longer get stuck in the caution stealth state when no enemies are nearby. And plus, something really huge, a bunch of VATS fixes. We know VATS did not work perfectly in Fallout 76, and they finally did something with it. It says firing in VATS with a 0% chance to hit will no longer cause all subsequent shots fired to miss until the player exits and re-enters VATS. It talks about VATS queuing a critical hit and then exiting and re-entering VATS no longer causes that critical to miss. VATS firing immediately after entering VATS no longer always causes that shot to miss. VATS fixed an issue causing VATS to always initially display a 0% chance to hit and sometimes repeatedly switch between 0 and the correct calculated hit chance. So VATS got fixed, which is awesome. Moving into enemies, two that I want to point out are the General. Fixed an issue that could cause invisible enemies to spawn at the Southern Sunshine Meta Workshop and prevent players from claiming it. Fixed an issue that could occasionally cause enemies to become invisible, which was kind of a bother. If you guys have ever tried to take over a workshop and there's an invisible enemy, it sucks. Or, if you're in an area and the enemy's invisible, it sucks because you can't see them. I remember one time walking through the swamp and I got killed by a Mirelurk Queen, and I had lost my stuff, and that was when I had collected a bunch of gears, springs, and screws, really valuable stuff. I went back, got killed immediately because the damn queen was invisible and I didn't know where she was, and then I had to load up a new server, and obviously with that came the loss of all my gears, springs, and screws, and my other valuables. Scorchbeast Queen fixed an issue that could cause the Scorchbeast Queen corpse to despawn more quickly than initiated, which prevented players from collecting her loot, which is that last bullet at the bottom right there below, on enemies. This is really good, really awesome. If you guys have ever tried to loot the Scorchbeast Queen and her loot didn't load properly, it sucks. And then when she would disappear completely, that would suck as well because you couldn't collect your loot. Going into items, a lot of stuff was fixed. Just pointing out two things. Exploits, a maximum of 5,000 items can now be sold. A maximum of 5,000 items can now be sold to a vendor in a single transaction, which is really nice. Exploits, address an exploits in which certain circumstances could allow players to alter the damage of their weapons with the mutant's legendary effect, which is really good. I remember a lot of people were doing that, and I'm pretty sure we're going to get a lot of complaints as well along with that. Going to exploits, it says address an exploit related to item transactions with vendors. So some more exploit fixes as well, some armor fixes. It says absolute weight limit fixes as well, paper bag fixes, power armor fixes, weapon fixes, paper bag fixes, two of them which are really cool. Dying in harvested flora no longer prevents a player from collecting the items in the paper bag they dropped on death. Paper bags fixed an issue that could prevent a paper bag from being created after dropping an item on the ground, which is really neat. Goes on to perks and PvP. Really nothing too interesting there. If you guys want to go ahead and read that, you can go ahead and read that. But what's really cool, it says turrets will no longer become hostile toward their owner if that player was killed by another player in their own camp, which is cool. Turrets, destroying a workshop owner's turrets while attempting to claim that workshop will no longer cause the attacking player to become wanted, which is really nice because, you know, you would take over a workshop and then you'd still get shot and then you destroy the turret and then now you're wanted. Address an issue that could cause turrets owned by a player who killed their wanted teammate to remain aggressive toward the formerly wanted player, which is pretty good. So I'm glad to see that they did a lot of turret and wanted fixing. It says wanted. Killing a wanted teammate no longer prevents travel, which is really good. Quest and events, a bunch of quest and events that were fixed. Exploits there, some general stuff as well. Sound stuff, survival stuff. And then you had a bunch of user interface stuff that was fixed. Just sped through those last couple there, because my voice is getting a little bit tired. But yeah, nonetheless, guys, this is just completely insane. The amount of fixes and features that Bethesda Game Studios has released in patch 7, obviously with there being more to come with all that content on the way, you know, if you remember that roadmap, it's just completely insane, guys. Like, so much content on the way that I'm excited for. I'm really glad that Bethesda never gave up on this game, and I'll talk about that more later. I'll be giving my review on the new content probably sometime within the next few days. I'm trying my hand at some other stuff, and you guys will see that for the 10,000 sub special. And also, other than that, yeah, this patch is just insane, mind-blowing. Like this is the biggest patch so far, I think, and it fixed a lot of bugs and issues with the game. It fixed a lot of features and it just added a bunch of stuff that we needed to the game to improve the quality of our lives in the Fallout 76 world. And I'm really glad that patch 7 came out. It's absolutely insane. It's absolutely incredible. I'll be giving my review in a few days, like I said, on the content that came out, or that you know, Nuka content, or the Nuka Shine content, or the brewing and distilling system in a few days here. I don't want to give my review on it today because I want to take time to savor the content. I noticed a lot of other YouTubers will rush their, you know, gameplay just to, you know, do the review, but I'd rather take my time and then give you a review because it feels more generic that way, or, you know, more not generic, but it feels more genuine that way. Anyways, guys, that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, drop a like, comment, and subscribe. I love all of you, and I'll see you back here in the next one. Bye-bye, everybody, and thanks for watching. See you next time.